Outside, the skies over Riverton were a dull silver as Mara sat across from MS. Harper's immaculate desk, watching her boss leaf through the promotion documents with a practiced, polished indifference. 8 years of missed weekends, skipped family gatherings, and endless late nights had been compressed into a 17-page portfolio that MS. Harper barely skimmed before pushing it aside. "I appreciate your dedication," she said, adjusting her sleek designer glasses. "But after reviewing your application thoroughly, I still don't think you're prepared for senior management. Maybe in a year or two." Prepared. The word dropped between us like a weight. I had maintained the department's highest client satisfaction rates, single-handedly saved the Brighton contract when everyone else had written it off, and hadn't taken a real weekend off in 4 years, yet I forced myself to smile, wearing the well-practiced mask required for corporate survival. "I understand. Thank you for the feedback. I'm glad we're aligned." MS. Harper replied, already glancing at her watch. "The Marwick proposal needs your attention today. They want additional metrics before they approve anything." As I gathered my belongings, MS. Harper was already tapping away at her keyboard, my disappointment forgotten as quickly as it had been shoved aside. I walked past the corner office that should have been mine. Its glass door, its wide window, the space where my name ought to have been shining proudly. Down in the parking garage, I slid into the driver's seat and stared at myself in the rear-view mirror. The woman looking back wasn't sad. She wasn't angry either. She was calculating. I turned the key in the ignition and made 2 decisions that would shift everything. First, I would cancel my upcoming vacation. Second, I would stop writing the daily operational guides. No one at the office realized it yet, but their perfect workflow was held together by an invisible backbone, and that backbone was about to disappear. Before I tell you what unfolded next, you might be wondering why so many people stay stuck in jobs where their value is ignored. If my story feels familiar, make sure to like and subscribe. I share a new career strategy every week that can reshape your professional journey. Now, back to what happened after that meeting. My name is Mara, and up until that moment, I had been the most reliable employee at Horizon Dynamics in Riverton, Algeria. Not the most visible, not the highest paid, but the one who kept every wheel turning while others enjoyed the spotlight. I've always been naturally systematic, with an almost photographic memory for processes and workflows. Growing up with 4 younger siblings had trained me to spot problems long before they exploded, an instinct that translated perfectly into corporate life. When I joined Horizon Dynamics 8 years ago, I walked straight into a disaster zone. The previous team lead had quit suddenly after clashing with upper management, taking every bit of procedural knowledge with them. No documentation, no handover notes, not even the passwords to essential systems. The department was falling apart. Clients were threatening to terminate contracts, and no one had the slightest idea how to restore order. I spent 3 grueling months reconstructing everything from scratch, staying past midnight, deciphering old spreadsheets, rebuilding client records line by line, and reverse engineering every broken workflow. I created detailed manuals for each process, color-coded, indexed, and meticulously organized. MS. Harper never bothered to learn any of it. Why would she, when I kept everything running perfectly? "You're an exceptional problem solver." She'd praise me during performance reviews, always followed by a tiny raise that never reflected the work I put in. Recently, the company had won a massive partnership with Marwick Industries, a client worth a fortune in annual revenue. I had built that relationship from the ground up, working late nights to align with their overseas hours and mastering their sector inside out. MS. Harper only attended 3 meetings, mostly to take credit during executive briefings. Every morning, I arrived at 8:30 sharp to prepare briefing notes for her before her Calder's leadership session. Every evening, I sent her comprehensive updates on every active project, and between those 2 points, I put out fires before anyone even smelled smoke. But the morning after being denied that promotion, something inside me shifted. The next morning, I arrived at exactly 8:50, not 8:30, not 8:45. Precisely 10. I prepared no briefing notes. I responded only to emails addressed directly to me and ignored every message that didn't fall under my responsibility. When a supplier crisis popped up, I simply routed it to the proper department instead of fixing it myself, like I always had. By noon, 3 coworkers had stopped by my desk, confusion written all over their faces. "Mara, did you see the thread about the Eastwood scheduling issue?" asked Jonas from accounts. "Yes," I replied, still typing. He hovered, waiting for me to take over like usual. "So can you sort it out like you normally do?" I looked up. "That falls under procurement." I forwarded it to Marla. His eyebrows shot up. "But you always handle these things." "I've been told to focus strictly on my assigned duties," I said with a polite smile, just trying to show that I understand my place in the company. By 5 p.m., I packed my bag and walked out. No overtime, no taking work home. During the drive, I canceled the cabin reservation for my upcoming vacation, my first real break in 4 years. Instead, I planned to stay and watch the system sink under its own weight. That evening, my phone buzzed nonstop with work notifications. I silenced it and spent the night with my daughter, Liana, baking chocolate chip cookies, something we hadn't done together in months. As we laughed at the lumpy dough, something heavy finally lifted from my chest. "Mom, why are you home early?" Liana, now 11, asked, licking batter off a spoon. I paused, wondering how to explain corporate manipulation to a child. "I decided my time is valuable," I said softly, "and I want to spend more of it with you." Her face lit up. "Can we do this again tomorrow?" "Absolutely," I promised, ignoring the work phone buzzing on the counter. The next morning, the first cracks appeared almost immediately. Marwick Industries had requested urgent changes to their implementation plan, changes only I knew how to execute. Ms. Harper tried to lead the response team, but without my usual briefings, she unraveled quickly. At 11:30, she appeared at my desk. "Where are the process notes for the Marwick customizations?" "They're in the shared drive," I replied smoothly. "Under client implementations, I mentioned it during last month's department meeting. There are hundreds of files in there." "Which one?" I opened the folder for her. "The master file is titled Marwick Integration, Complete Process Documentation. It's 190 pages, organized by module with tabbed sections." She stared at the enormous document, her expression flickering between confusion and panic. "Can you just handle this? The client is waiting." "I'd be happy to," I said politely. "But I have the quarterly compliance review this afternoon. I can start on Marwick first thing tomorrow." Her jaw clenched. "It can't wait until tomorrow. I understand," I replied calmly. "Would you like me to reschedule the compliance review? Regulators expect it by end of day." She spun around and walked away without responding, her heels striking sharply against the floor. That evening, I switched off all work notifications and took Liana to the park. My personal phone sat quietly beside me as I watched her swing, her laughter drifting through the cool air. For the first time in years, I felt fully present. When we got home, I checked my work phone once. 77 missed calls. The voicemails ranged from confused to frantic to outright furious. Marwick was threatening to cancel their contract. 3 systems had malfunctioned, every issue documented in my guides, which no one had bothered to read. The quarterly compliance report was still untouched. I set the phone down and slept better than I had in years. The next morning, I walked into the office at exactly 9:00 a.m. again. Overnight, the entire atmosphere had shifted. Colleagues hurried between meeting rooms. Through the glass wall of her office, I could see Ms. Harper gesturing frantically on a video call. while the regional director's assistant paced nervously near the elevators. I calmly sat at my desk and began arranging my to-do list. "Mara, where have you been?" Jonas whispered urgently, rushing to my side with panic in his eyes. "Everything is collapsing. Ms. Harper has been trying to reach you since yesterday. I left at 7. I replied evenly. "My contract states my hours are 11 to 7. But the Marwick crisis, what about that?" He stammered. "They're threatening to pull out. Nobody can figure out how to implement the updates they requested." I nodded slowly. "That process needs specialized handling. It's all explained in the guide I created last year." He nearly shouted. "No one can understand your documentation without you walking them through it." Before I could respond, Ms. Harper's assistant rushed over, breathless. "Mara, emergency meeting in the conference room. Now." I picked up my notebook and walked calmly to the room where Ms. Harper sat beside the regional director, Adrian Holt. Their faces were tight, documents scattered across the polished table. "Mara," Adrian said with unmistakable relief, "thank goodness you're here. We need your help with the Marwick situation." I took a seat and placed my notebook neatly in front of me. "Of course," I said calmly. "How can I assist?" Ms. Harper's expression was stretched thin with frustration. "Let's get straight to it," she said. "What will it take for you to fix this? The promotion, it's yours." I tilted my head slightly. "That's a generous offer," I said smoothly. "But I've been approached by another firm. They've offered me a senior management position with a substantial salary increase. Apparently, they think I'm qualified." Silence settled over the room. Adrian's eyes widened. Ms. Harper's narrowed sharply. "You're leaving?" Adrian asked, disbelief creeping into his voice. "When?" I kept my tone steady. "I haven't accepted their offer yet. I'm still considering my options. Name your price." Adrian said instantly. "Whatever they're offering will match it." I gave a faint smile. "It's not just about the money. It's about respect, recognition, and real opportunity." "Ms. Harper leaned forward, her voice tight with urgency. "The Marwick client specifically asked for you by name. You can't walk away now." "How interesting," I said evenly. "So did 4 others this past month." I reached into my bag, pulled out a folder, and placed it on the table. "Here's my 4 weeks' notice. I'll support the transition as required." Ms. Harper lunged for the folder, but Adrian was quicker. He opened it, scanned the contents, then closed it firmly. "This won't be necessary," he said. "Mara, I'd like a private conversation in my office." As I stood to follow him, Ms. Harper remained frozen in her chair, her knuckles white against the glossy table surface. The company's reaction to my resignation was about to reveal just how deeply they had underestimated me, and what they were suddenly willing to do now that they finally understood my worth. I followed Adrian to his corner office, feeling the curious eyes of colleagues tracking us as we passed. His office was sleek and commanding. Awards lined one wall and floor. The ceiling windows offered a sweeping view of Riverton. He motioned for me to sit. "I've been observing your work for some time," he began, folding his hands, though not as tightly as perhaps protocol demanded. I remained silent. "The situation with Ms. Harper concerns me," he admitted. "This is the first I've heard about your promotion being denied. Why didn't you come directly to me?" "Chain of command," I said evenly. "Ms. Harper is my supervisor. Going over her head would have been inappropriate." He nodded slowly. "Admirable, but maybe misplaced here. Tell me honestly, what would it take to keep you at Horizon Dynamics?" I measured my words carefully. "Proper recognition for my work, fair compensation, and a role where I can lead with my own strategies instead of executing someone else's vision." Adrian studied me for a long moment. "I'm creating a new position, Director of Operational Systems. You would report directly to me, double your current salary, 3 remote days a week, full authority over workflow design. The position..." Is yours if you want it. I didn't answer immediately, and he seemed surprised. Is that not enough? It's generous, I said. But this isn't a bluff. Another company is waiting on my decision. He leaned back thoughtfully. What can they offer that we can't match? A clean slate, I said simply. No history of being overlooked. No colleagues who still see me as support staff rather than leadership. He exhaled. Fair point, but consider this: you've built systems here you know better than anyone. Clients who trust you. Starting over means rebuilding all of that from scratch. He was right. 7 years of institutional knowledge couldn't be easily replaced. But neither could the constant feeling of being undervalued. I'll need time to think. I said at last, of course. He replied, take the weekend, but I'll need your answer by Monday morning. He stood, signaling the end of the meeting. And Mara, please stabilize the Marwick account before making any final decisions. I will handle Marwick personally today, I said. Back at my desk, an email from Adrian was already waiting, his offer in writing. The salary figure made me blink twice. It was more than double my current pay. The job description read like it had been crafted specifically for me. I was gathering materials for the Marwick meeting when Ms. Harper appeared beside my desk, her expression carefully neutral. We need to talk, she said quietly. Not here, I replied. Lunch. I have the Marwick call at noon, I added evenly. After that, then my office at 3, she said. She nodded, and I returned my focus to the crisis before me. The Marwick team sounded frustrated but visibly relieved once I joined the call. Their requests, customizations that normally would take weeks, needed to be completed in days. I outlined a phased approach, addressing the most urgent demands first while keeping the long-term vision intact. This is exactly why we wanted to work with your company, their director said. You understand our business goals, not just the technical side. When the call ended, I documented every step in detail and sent instructions to the implementation team. Normally, I would handle everything personally, but today I delegated, remaining available for questions, not ownership. At 1:30 p.m., I knocked on Ms. Harper's office door. She seemed smaller somehow, shadows under her eyes hinting at a sleepless night. Close the door, she said quietly, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. I understand Adrian offered you a new position. He did, I confirmed. She exhaled slowly. I won't pretend I'm thrilled, but I get it. You're invaluable to the company. I waited, sensing she wasn't finished. I owe you an apology, she admitted, her tone strained. I've relied on your expertise without giving you proper credit or reward. Can I ask you something? I said, genuinely curious. When I told you that you weren't ready for senior management, what exactly did you think I was lacking? Ms. Harper shifted uneasily. You've always been the technical one, the problem solver behind the scenes. Senior management requires visibility, presence, politics. In other words, I said coolly, I do the work while others take the spotlight. Her expression faltered. That's oversimplifying. Is it? I asked. Who presented the winning Marwick strategy to the executives? I did. She admitted softly, but based on your proposal. The client retention plan last quarter that saved 4 accounts who received the leadership award. That was a team effort, she said. A team I led, coordinated, and delivered every project for. I reminded her. I leaned forward. I'm not unqualified, Ms. Harper. I've just been invisible while others stood on my shoulders. The silence stretched between us. Are you taking Adrian's offer? She asked finally. I haven't decided, I replied. If you stay, she said carefully, things will be different between us. Yes, I agreed quietly, they will. The weekend gave me the clarity I needed away from the office. On Saturday, I finally took Liana to the Science Museum, a promise I had been making for months but never kept. On Sunday, I called my sister. What's your gut telling you? She asked. That I've outgrown the box they built for me. I said, But I'm not sure if Adrian's offer changes that, or just makes the box look nicer. Would you still report to MS, Harper? She asked. No, directly to Adrian. And what happens to MS, Harper? He didn't say, but I suspected her role was under review. My sister was quiet for a moment. So, your choices are a fresh start or a promotion that effectively sidelines your old boss. Hearing it put that way made it feel heavier. I don't want revenge, I said softly. I just want recognition. Are you sure? She pressed, because part of you might enjoy seeing her face the consequences of underestimating you. Her words landed closer than I wanted to admit. Was that what I wanted? To see MS? Harper humbled, forced to acknowledge how much she had leaned on me while dismissing my worth. By Monday morning, my decision was made. I arrived early, 7:30 a.m., like I used to, and walked straight to Adrian's office. His assistant hadn't arrived, but the door was open. You're early, he noted, glancing up. I wanted to give you my answer before things get busy, I said, taking a seat. I'm accepting your offer with 2 conditions. His eyebrows rose. I'm listening. First, I want full authority to build my own team. 3 hires I consider essential. Adrian nodded. Reasonable. And the second, MS Harper stays in her current position. That clearly caught him off guard. After how she treated you, why? Replacing her won't fix the structural problems in the department. I explained. And I don't want my first act as a leader to feel like revenge. Adrian regarded me with renewed interest. Unexpected and politically wise. I've learned a few things watching from the sidelines, I said. Very well, he said. MS Harper stays, though her department will now coordinate operational matters through your office. Thank you. No, Mara, he corrected, extending his hand. Thank you for staying. The announcement goes out this morning. Be prepared for reactions. He wasn't wrong. At 11 a.m., the company-wide email announced my new role and expanded responsibilities. My inbox instantly flooded with congratulations, questions, and meeting requests. Jonas stopped by, looking slightly sheepish. So you're my boss now? Technically, yes, I confirmed. Is that a problem? He shook his head quickly. No. It's great. You've always been the one who actually knows what's going on. Throughout the day, colleagues who had barely noticed me suddenly found reasons to introduce themselves. Administrative assistants who had always been kind now smiled knowingly. They finally understood how invisible work kept the company running. MS Harper avoided me until late afternoon, when she approached with a folder. The quarterly strategy document, she said stiffly. Since operational planning falls under your purview, you'll need to present this at tomorrow's executive meeting. Thank you, I'll review it tonight, I said. She paused before leaving. For what it's worth, I didn't recommend against your promotion because I thought you were incapable. I did it because I couldn't afford to lose you from my team. Perhaps the most honest thing you've ever said, I replied. Good managers develop their people, even if it means letting them move on. She nodded sharply and walked away. That evening, I stayed late, reorganizing my workspace for my new role. Adrian stopped by on his way out. Still here, thought you'd be celebrating. I smiled. I'll celebrate this weekend. Right now, I'm planning. Planning what? He asked. How to ensure no one else in this company is overlooked the way I was. I handed him a document I had been refining. This is my proposed structure for the new department, including training programs to identify internal talent and systematically develop it. He flipped through the pages, eyebrows rising. You developed all this today? No, I admitted. I've been refining it for about 2 years. I just never had the authority to implement it. Adrian shook his head, impressed. Remind me never to underestimate you, Mara. That's the plan, I said with a smile. 4 months later, transformation was well underway. My team now included a brilliant systems analyst who had been buried in IT support, and a process developer miscast as an administrative assistant. Together, we streamlined operations across 4 departments, cutting overtime by 38% while boosting productivity metrics. Ms. Harper and I maintained a professional relationship, respectful though not friendly. Freed from operational minutiae, she excelled in client-facing interactions. Employee satisfaction scores across the division rose dramatically. The Marwick contract expanded to include 2 additional service lines, specifically requesting my new team. Their CEO personally called Adrian to commend the company's operational turnaround. On a Friday afternoon, 7 months after my denied promotion, I left the office at 6:00 p.m., a habit I had maintained despite my added responsibilities. Liana was waiting at home, homework spread across the kitchen table. "How was work, Mom?" she asked, looking up from her math problems. "Productive," I replied, setting down my laptop bag. "The new training program launched today. 27 employees are getting development opportunities they wouldn't have had before." "Like you didn't get?" she asked, seeing the pattern I understood all too well. "Yes, exactly like that," I said. She paused thoughtfully. "That's a nice way to fix things. Instead of getting angry, you're making it better for others." I smiled, appreciating the wisdom in her words. Sometimes the best response to being undervalued isn't anger. It's demonstrating your true worth so clearly that it can never be questioned again. That evening, as Liana slept and I reviewed presentations for Monday's executive meeting, my phone buzzed with a text from Adrian. "Board approved your promotion to VP level, effective next month." Unanimous vote. Ms. Harper actually gave the strongest recommendation. Congratulations. I set the phone down, a warm sense of satisfaction settling over me. This wasn't about winning or revenge. It was about finally being seen, truly seen, for what I had always been capable of achieving. The corner office with my name on the door was nice, but it wasn't the real victory. The real victory was transforming a system that had failed not just me, but countless others whose quiet competence went unnoticed. The victory was creating pathways for others to rise without having to become invisible first. Sometimes the most powerful response to being underestimated isn't proving others wrong. It's crafting a world where talent can no longer be ignored, no matter how quietly it performs. If you've ever felt invisible at work while carrying more than your share, I hope my story gives you courage. The skills that make you indispensable are exactly the ones that qualify you for leadership. Don't wait for recognition. Demonstrate your value so clearly that denying it becomes impossible. And if you found inspiration in this story, please like and subscribe for more strategies on transforming workplace dynamics. Remember, your worth isn't defined by others' inability to see it. It's measured by the impact you create, whether acknowledged or not.